Hotline Miami has an array of enemies that can make your time good or a living hell. I'm going in depth to explain said enemies, including the ones who stand out with almost every intention to make you dead. I should mention that there is a spoiler warning for this that's pretty important since I'm covering the enemy types of the game. If you haven't played it, I recommend you do. It's a really good game, and I think it's worth the play, even if just to try it. Patrol or patrollers are the basic concept of enemies in the game. They turn 90 degrees when their path is obstructed, and can be taken down with any weapon, even unloaded guns, since you can throw guns at people. Static enemies are enemies that won't move until they can see the players. They only use guns and become random or patrol if they see the player and investigate, only to find the player isn't there. Speaking of randoms, that's the next enemy. Randoms provide spice to the game, and are a pain because they show up at the worst times. Seriously, these can show up at the worst times. You have a perfect run, you're dead. Random enemies go anywhere that they can move to. They can use guns and melee. Fats are like patrollers, only they can't be killed with melee. There are exceptions in Hotline Miami 2. Fats are almost always near someone with a gun, so it's never usually a trouble to deal with them. Dogs are just like patrollers, only they can't be dealt with fist, exception if you're using the Tony mask. They can be stunned by any thrown weapon, but can't be killed with any melee weapons or guns. And that's every standard enemy type of Hotline Miami 1. Pretty quick, yeah? Anyway, now we're moving on to the special enemies of the game. The first unique enemy we have in the game is the Fat in Decadence. What makes him unique is that he has armor that semi and automatic weapons can't hit. This fight is really easy. You just place a shotgun at the doorway before you go into the next floor, and make sure to pick it up when you finish the level. Biker's the first and probably the most unique actual special enemy. He circles around the player before chasing them with his knife. He chases you 2 times before he throws his knife, and it usually hits a wall. Sometimes it doesn't, it'll kill you. Anyway, you have to hit him with a club while his knife is stuck in the wall, and you either do that twice and the boss fight's over. First time's usually hard for first time players, but it gets easier as time goes on, believe me. The van is a fight that happens in Deadline. Basically, the van runs right through the front entrance, and guys start piling outside of it. My tip of advice to win this fight is to make sure you have your eyes on the door with a fully loaded shotgun, and just keep moving so the Molotovs don't hit you. Keep doing that, and you'll finish this fight easy. It's golden. The next enemy you have to deal with is the Fat. It's about as simple as shoot him, he goes down. He's a subclass. The difference is he can shoot back at you, so just hide behind cover, fire, hide behind cover, fire, simple as that. After that are the final enemies of Hotline Miami 1. Now, there's a few guys, but it's not too much to handle, it's pretty simple. Grab the trophy at the right side of the room. These 2 Panthers are a bit of a punch, but literally, just hit them with a trophy and they die, kind of like dogs. The bodyguard, you just throw the trophy at her and she's down. And grab the knives that she has and use them on Father. Now, Father has 2 SMGs, but there's 2 statues and there's 2 little like fountains on both sides, so you're all good. Just take those as cover, throw the knife, you gotta get both his hands, and he goes down. That boss fight's simple. Now, on a separate note, I would tell you the story behind these characters, but that's not what this video is about. I would recommend Squatch Gaming Official. He did some pretty solid videos on these characters. Otherwise, Hotline Miami 1 special enemies, done. We're on to Hotline Miami 2. Hotline Miami 2 unsurprisingly makes changes to the game, including 2 new enemy types, a change to classic enemies of Hotline Miami 1, and, of course, new special enemies. The 2 new standard enemy types are Dodgers and Idols, which we'll get into in just a moment, and the changes to the Hotline Miami 1 types is that using the Tone mask or the Dirty Hands mask in Hotline Miami 2 will now stun Fats. There's also a subclass of Fats who carry guns in the flashback military chapters of Hotline Miami 2. Idols are a sort of new enemy type that appears in the second game. They have unique animations, and they don't do anything till they see the player, similar to static enemies. The only exception to these guys is the ones who wait to shoot you, the Colombians in Dead Ahead, who will sit and wait for you to be in their sight before they begin opening fire. The next actual enemy type is the Dodger. These guys will dodge all gunfire and thrown objects that come their way, the only way to kill them being using a melee. There's a subclass of dodgers that only appear in the hard mode military chapters, which carry guns, similar to the SWAT boss, which we'll get into in just a little bit. The big thing about Hotline Miami 2 is the special enemies, which the game has quite a few of. To start, we have the SWAT chief, who appears in Final Cut. He has patrol areas around the floor he's on, and has two guns similar to the unique dodgers I talked about just a bit ago. Only these are revolvers, and they kind of kill you the moment they hit you, as revolvers usually do. Shooting him with guns will knock him down, allowing you to perform a ground execution and kill him. He can also be knocked out by doors, or be hit with a melee. Just make sure to avoid his gunfire, because that usually kills you, as most guns do. The next special enemy comes farther ahead in the subway chapter, and he's the gang leader of the thugs. He can be easily attacked if you get him around a corner, but if he sees you, he'll signal everyone to where you are using his cane, which is quite loud in that subway. Of course, just like any other enemy, make sure to hit him, and he goes down. It's about as easy as that. The next enemy appears one act ahead, and that's the prison boss of the 20th scene. Now, I would tell you how to beat this guy, but honestly, it's a bit confusing to me, and there are other people on the internet who can do it a lot better than I can, so I'd recommend just looking up a guide to it. Anyway, all I know is that after the two segments involving him following you by running at you, if you avoid those two, a pipe comes down, you grab the pipe, and you take him out. And that concludes that boss. Now we're on to the last few special enemies of the game, and those are the fans. Now I might be thinking, well, the fans are the playable characters, why are we fighting them? Well, this is during Sun's high after his whole act. Feature film, Apocalypse, the final chapter. Mark appears as a bear who has similar mechanics to the prison boss, only he'll rush immediately as the player begins moving. I've found that moving in a sort of oval shape above him usually works, but you have to grab that pipe immediately, or rather, not the pipe, the golf club, and hit him and kill him. It's as easy as that. The next enemy is Corey, who appears as a zebra which goes through windows. Now, my advice for this one is to be vigilant, because it can go through any window and you want to be prepared. Now, the best way to win this is to just shoot them, and if they're far away, let's say you're on one wall and they're on the other, make sure to shoot just ahead of them so the bullet will reach. The game is slowed down, so these bullets don't usually travel as fast as they normally would. The next one is Tony. Tony appears far down a corridor after you pick up a shotgun, and I would say go into the lion's den, but he's not a lion, he's a tiger, so picking up the shotgun and going into the tiger's den. Make sure to move back, and don't let the lights fool you. Immediately when you see him, fire. Now, you may mess this up a few times since he's pretty fast, but one quick shot and quick reaction can kill him off and get you on to the next one. After that is Alex and Ash, which appear as a two-headed swan who both attack you directly and passively. Passively being shooting at you. Now, you cannot attack these two when their eyes are red, because they cannot be attacked during that phase, probably because they're going after you during that part. Alex is about as simple as once they attack, their eyes glow white. Just move backwards until they stop, their eyes glow white, hit them, boom, they're dead. Ash is pretty simple, because Ash fires at you. Now, you want to avoid because it's a 3-round burst, and these are pretty fast bullets, and you just explode if they hit you. After avoiding those shots, just run at them, kill them, and that ends this fight, including ending the fans, and also ending all of the special enemy types of Hotline Miami 2, and ending all the enemy types of Hotline Miami 2. So, sort of ending everything. And that's the last of the special enemy types and standard enemy types of Hotline Miami. The two honorable mentions that I didn't include here were the ones of Hotline Miami 1, who are the doctors and the waiters, and the SWAT. The doctors are in the trauma chapter and will see you, or if they see you, they'll immediately send you back to your room and make you restart from a checkpoint that you had. The waiters, however, appear in the chapter Clean Hit, and immediately pull out guns and begin firing as they see you. They won't chase you down, they'll sit there with their guns standing at your last known location and continue firing until either they run out of ammo or you kill them. After that is the SWAT, who are unkillable enemies that you're not supposed to kill but rather run from in the chapter Crackdown. There isn't much to the SWAT outside of just don't try and kill them. You can't. And with that, I believe I've covered every enemy type of Hotline Miami games. If there's any I missed, do tell in the comments, and I hope this video was enjoyable for you, and who knows, maybe you learned something you didn't know about the game during this time. Have a good day, evening, or night, and I'll probably see you sometime in the future. Who knows?